So before we go any further, just a reminder that our text line is 4001. You can also save some dirhams by using the Dubai Eye Messenger app, which is completely free. And you can also, I believe, watch us live on the Dubai Eye 103.8 Facebook page right now, because it is time for this.
Readers Recommend.
So Readers Recommend. I'm the reader today, and I'm recommending The Perfect Lie by Karen Osman. She's joining us in the studio. She's talking about she's going to be talking to us a little bit about her latest book, The Perfect Lie. So your debut novel, Karen, first of all, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Should we start with good morning? I get so excited about books, I forget that I should actually say hello to people. Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
And also standing in for the wonderful Isabel Abelhall is the also wonderful Alison K. Williams, writer, editor.
Trying to rise to the occasion.
Trying to, yeah. I think you are. So your debut novel, Karen, The Good Mother, it won the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature's Montegrappa Writing Prize.
That's right.
In 2016.
Yep.
Okay. And that was quickly followed by a 3-book deal with Head of Zeus.
Yes.
And you are the author of The Good Mother, The Home, and now The Perfect Lie.
That's right.
So Secrets and Lies is kind of our unofficial theme for this last hour of the show. So before we talk about The Perfect Lie, I'd like to ask you about some lies of your own. So I'm going to ask Alison to start, okay, and I'm going to try and guess. So tell me 2 truths and 1 lie about yourself, and I'll see if I get it right.
2 truths and a lie. In high school, I won the school beauty pageant and was Miss Northeast High School. I have been on fire 3 times, and none of them were an accident. I lead a series of writing retreats. The next one is in Dubai in February. It's called Rebirth Your Book.
Okay, I know the answer to this because by process of elimination, I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying the beauty pageant one is a lie for other reasons. What an awful thing to put to somebody.
Oh, no, you're totally right.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even make the finals. I represented the literary magazine. I was, Miss Literary Magazine. And then for my talent, I did performance art about alienation. It went over like a lead balloon.
Did it?
I think
So
everybody
there was
left.
some truth in that.
Oh, I was in the pageant. I just didn't come anywhere close to winning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Although it sounds like your whole thing was more entertaining than everybody else's, quite frankly. So, Karen, 2 truths and a lie.
Okay, so I once tried out for the MasterChef auditions in the UK. The second one is I used to live in Japan. And the third one is I was a semi-professional salsa dancer.
Okay, so semi-professional salsa dancer, used to live in Japan, auditioned for MasterChef. Okay. Oh, these are good ones.
She looks very fit and limber, so I kind of like the salsa dancer thing.
I'm gonna say MasterChef.
Absolutely right. I'm a terrible, terrible cook. In fact, I don't cook.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the lie.
But you're a semi-professional salsa dancer.
Yeah, I was in my 20s, late 20s, early 30s. Yeah.
Does that come into any of your books at all?
No, not at all.
When are you going to write the crime thriller about the salsa dancer?
Well, that could be quite exciting, actually. And basically, we used to just travel around around the world as like a group in a salsa dancing group and put on shows. It was quite an exciting time in my life. It wasn't a full-time job by any means, but I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Did you get to wear the costumes with like the beads that swoop all around? Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, we had some amazing costumes and some amazing makeup and yeah, it was like Strictly, before Strictly, but nowhere near as, glamorous. But it was a lot of fun. Pre-Strictly, yeah.
Strictly. That's amazing. Also, I think we need to back it up very briefly because I understand the context of you being on fire 3 times, but I just realised that there are probably listeners out there going, wait, what? You need to explain why she was on fire.
Before I was a full-time writer and editor, I was a full-time circus performer. And one of my acts was fire eating and fire manipulation. And so I took part in a German fire show in which I was doused with water and then fire cannons blew fire all over me.
Wow.
It was really awesome, except for the one night when the button stuck and Crazy Eddie, that's what we called him, was like punching at the button.
Was his name Eddie? Was he a bit crazy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me tell you, it stayed on for an extra 1.5 seconds, which in terms of being on fire is eternity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was still technically on purpose, though. I mean, I had volunteered to be in that part of the show.
That sounds terrifying. And on that terrifying note, we're going to move to
Move to the world of thrillers.
move to the world of thrillers. Segue,
Nice segue, Annabelle. It's almost like you do this on purpose.
perhaps. So without giving too much away, Karen, so your novel, The Perfect Lie, it came out recently over the summer, I believe.
It did. It came out in August of this year.
So the main protagonist, Claire, I don't want to say too much. Can you explain what this perfect lie is and tell us a little bit more about the protagonist? Because I don't want to give away spoilers.
Yes, of course. Well, I mean, this book is, as you said, it's about a woman called Claire. And on the outside, her life seems perfect. She's got this, incredible family. She's got an amazing career as a lawyer. She's got 2 beautiful children. But she takes on a case at work of a 19-year-old rape victim. She's reminded of a past that she'd rather forget. So the book is sort of set between present day and then it goes back to the 80s, which is her in high school. It's set in Manchester in the UK, and it's really about a story of how one lie can have absolutely devastating consequences and the impact on people around them.
So I don't want to talk too much about the book because obviously it's got an amazing kind of concept that draws you in, and the whole joy of a psychological thriller is, figuring out how all these loose ends tie up. But you return to motherhood quite a bit in your books, and that's something that really stood out for me as I started reading The Perfect Lies. There's this big focus on the concept of family and I think safety and security as well. Is that a conscious decision, or do you just end up writing about mothers?
I think motherhood, you're right, is a strong theme. I mean, I wrote The Good Mother, which won the Emirates Literature Prize in 2016 when I was pregnant and looking after a toddler. So I think, motherhood, pregnancy, it brings strong emotions. So I think those sort of came into my writing and have continued. And there's actually sort of an official sort of genre, which is domestic noir.
Yeah.
So it's centered around family, but there's that darkness, that noir in it that sort of gives it that thriller edge. It's books that I enjoy reading about. So I think that also plays a part in it. I write what I enjoy reading.
Just a heads up to our listeners as well. Karen is one of the authors also attending the Emirates Airline Festival of Literature
That's
next
correct,
year.
yes.
So the dates are 4th to the 9th of February, and I believe your event is happening on the weekend. So most of the events are happening from the 7th to the 8th of February. And if you go to emirateslitfest.com, you can find out more details about the programme. You can buy tickets and you can see the wide range of authors that we've got coming. I think there's over 150 authors attending the festival, so there's definitely something for everyone. But in terms of crime writers, the big question that we're grouping a lot of the crime authors and their books around is, what do you think makes the perfect crime? And I wondered, as a writer of domestic noir in this kind of genre, do you have an opinion about this?
I think the perfect crime is the one that you get away with.
Ideally, no one would know that a crime had occurred if you committed a perfect crime.
Yeah, that to me is the answer to that question. And I think there's many factors that sort of come in there. And I think involving women as characters, we don't always associate women with committing crime. If we think of your traditional criminal, we tend to think of men. So I think that, gives it an unexpected twist sometimes, that women are capable of doing such heinous acts as well.
Just while we're on the subject as well, we've got your wonderful book, The Perfect Lie, to read. But if you're thinking about crime novels and thrillers that have completely blown you away in terms of the concept and the structure, is there one book that you would always recommend to people?
I love, in terms of crime, I think Peter James is always a winner for me. You just know what you're going to get when you pick up with his books. And I think the research that he does into police procedure is you know, really adds an extra dimension to that for me. Claire McIntosh, of course, I think her experience in the police force comes through very, very strongly as well. I love all of those books. There's not one book of hers that I haven't enjoyed. So, yeah, they would two authors that definitely stand out for me.
So Peter James and Claire McIntosh. What about you, Alison?
You know, I would recommend Dick Francis's books, especially the ones he wrote himself before his son took over. And the thing I love about them is each book investigates a new world in which the crime is occurring. And so, like, one of the books is all about the catering industry, which was surprisingly fascinating. One of the books, the main character was a glass blower, and I felt like I learned a ton about glass blowing in the context of this book. One of the books was a guy who was an official restaurant taster person who went through and made sure that everything was the way it was supposed to be in restaurants. And I find that window into another world through the lens of let's solve this crime to be really fascinating.
Yeah. On the subject of crime, we were actually talking about an American marriage earlier, and the question that we were asking is, if your spouse were convicted of a crime and sent to prison, as Roy is in the book An American Marriage, would you stand by them? And we actually had a message in. Rhiannon said, depends on the crime and if I was aware, which I think is an opinion that many people would share as well. Would you? I mean, it depends on the crime, doesn't it?
I think it does, because if someone I loved had done something truly heinous, I would feel the need to disassociate myself from them. Whereas if someone I loved was unjustly convicted, like, I'm kind of a dogged, persistent person, so I would probably not have time to hook up with my childhood friend because I would be busy pursuing this through the appellate courts.
Fair enough. That's exactly the kind of thing I would expect you to say about that novel. Yeah. One last thing that I want to ask you before we move on to the next book that we're going to be talking about in just a few minutes is, do you read these books differently now that you're a writer of them?
Yes. For sure. And, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Before, books were pure escapism to me. I would never analyze it as much as I do now and things like that. So, I'm reading an awful lot of books as well. So I'm tending to read them a lot more quickly as well, because I also read a lot for Karen's Bookshelf, which is an online show all about books. And we make a lot of book recommendations on there. So I am reading a lot quicker and a lot more analytically as well.
Yeah, where when something cool happens in the first chapter, you're like, ooh, nice clue. I bet they're heading for a plot line like this.
Yeah.
So we asked the question, how good are you at keeping secrets? And Roland says, I think I am better at 80%. So we are going to leave it there, because we have to pop in a bookmark. Elena's waving at me. So stay tuned, because next on the show, a woman leaves a mysterious request in her last will and testament, and we're going to find out from Karen what that is in just a few minutes.